Hi everyone, it's AJ, your host for What the Buddhism. So why Buddhism? What's actually cool about it? Let me radically and transparently express my admiration for Buddhism as a practical philosophy and a guide for modern life. First, it's all about life. Not a religion, but way to live. Buddhism is not about worship a god or subscribing to a belief system. It's about living and waking up to your life. It's about understanding your mind, your suffering, your freedom, and your happiness and peace. How to be happy, how to be free from anxiety, burnout, overthinking, whether you are 16 or 60, from Seoul, San Francisco, or even Senegal. Buddhism's core teachings hit deep because they're about being human. Modern psychology echoes this. Mindfulness-based interventions reduce anxiety and depression by over 30%, according to American Psychological Association. But the Buddha taught this 2,500 years ago, not as a therapy, but as a path to freedom. And secondly, Buddha wasn't a god. He was a human like you and me. He struggled, questioned everything, from power, wealth, even to pleasure. And then he left his palace to seek answers about life, answers about the truth. He was born as a Siddhartha Gautama, a prince in what is now modern-day Nepal and India, at age 29. He began to question a life of luxury and left behind his palace, power, and wealth to embark on a profound journey to understand suffering and liberation. Just 200 years after his death, the great Indian emperor Ashoka the Great, one of the most powerful rulers in history in India, publicly embraced the Buddha's teachings and spread them across Asia. Ashoka commissioned pillars and rock edicts across India and beyond, many of which mention the Buddha by name and practice the Dhamma, the Buddhist path of conduct and ethics. These inscriptions, some of which still stand today, were uncovered in the 19th century during British colonial rule in India by scholars and archaeologists. One of those scholars, James Prinsep, successfully deciphered the ancient Barmi script in 1837. So the Buddha's existence is not just a matter of belief. It's documented, engraved in stone, and rediscovered by scholars who weren't even Buddhists. The Ashoka pillars remain among the earliest archaeological proofs of the Buddha as a historical figure, not just the spiritual symbol. 3. No need to believe, just try it. Buddha never asked anyone to believe in him. He said, I only teach one thing, suffering, and the path to the end of suffering. And then he told us, don't take my word for it, test it out for yourself. That's what makes Buddhism so empowering. It's your own path, your journey, and your mind. And 4, the OG of mindfulness and meditation. Before all these modern apps, guided meditations, and corporate wellness buzzwords, there was a Dhamma. Buddhism is the origin of all this mindfulness hype. Unlike the commercial versions, it's not about just calming down, it's about waking up. Modern pioneers like Thich Nhat Hanh, Jon Kabat-Zinn, Jack Canfield, Sharon Salzberg all openly credit Buddhism as the foundation of their work. Jon Kabat-Zinn, a molecular biologist turned meditation teacher, founded mindfulness-based stress reduction (MBSR) in the 1970s. The structure, techniques, and purpose of MBSR are directly derived from Buddhist teaching, Buddhist meditation, from Anapanasati Sutta, Satipatthana Sutta, and more. Today, MBSR is taught in over 700 hospitals, schools, and workplaces worldwide. Jack Canfield and Sharon Salzberg, both trained in Southeast Asian Buddhist traditions, helped bring Vipassana to the West and made mindfulness accessible to people of all backgrounds. 5. More scientific than you think. Modern neuroscience and psychology are finally catching up to what the Buddha taught 2,500 years ago. The Abhidhamma, one of the Buddhist texts, breaks down mental process in incredible detail. Modern neuroscience is now validating what Buddha taught. Long-term meditation increases gray matter in brain regions associated with learning, memory, emotional regulation. Studies how mindfulness-based cognitive therapy prevents depression. But unlike psychology, which often analyzes symptoms, Buddhism is about liberation, not just understanding your pain, but ending. 6. It works. It really works. This is not just philosophy, it's a transformation. This isn't theory. Millions of people for thousands of years have practiced these teachings and had real life-changing transformation, myself included. I've seen people from trauma to peace, from addiction to clarity, from anxiety to stillness. And you don't need to change your culture or your identity or your job or your religion to start. You just need to start singing clearly. And 7, you change for real. When you practice Buddhism the right way, when you sit, reflect, observe inwardly, let go, your relationship with life changes. You stop being dragged by drama. You stop being afraid of silence. You find joy in simple things. You stop chasing and start living. And lastly, Buddhism is very inclusive, not exclusive. So one more beautiful thing about it is, so the Buddhism doesn't say my way or the highway. Buddha never preached conversion. He never rejects or look down on other religions. The Buddha met Hindus, Jainas, and even skeptics, and he always engaged with curiosity and compassion. This path is open for everyone. You don't have to convert. You just have to be curious and explore in your own way. So why Buddhism? Because it's the art of being human. Because it gives you tools, not dogma. Because it's not about belief, but aware awakening. Buddhism is not just cool, it's a deeply transformative, practical, and radically freeing. If you're curious about this path, or if you've ever felt like something's missing, even when you have everything, you're not alone. Stick around. I'll share more from my own journey, some guided practices and things I wish I knew earlier or I learned. Hit like, share this with a friend who's been overthinking lately, and let me know in the comments what's your biggest question about Buddhism. We'll discover.